To understand fractional stitches, we need to understand more about how the Ada is made up. So we talked before about how it's made up of these little squares with a hole in each corner of the square, and you place your cross in each square, one cross per square, as shown on the grid. Now, if we look more closely at one of these squares, we can see that it's actually made up of 4 strands coming downwards and 4 strands going across, and each square is made up of these strands. So you can actually put your needle in between the strands, and you see here I'm putting it after the first strand, after the second strand, and there, after the third strand, and the fourth, which is into the main hole. So all you're doing in fractional stitches is you're splitting the square like a fraction, and your needle will at some point go between some of these strands rather than just using the big hole. And they're really not hard to do at all once you understand that you're simply sometimes putting your needle through part of the square rather than in the hole. So I'm going to start off with fractional stitches that are just one fractional stitch in the square, which is the case for the teeth. So the teeth are shown by this symbol here, which is for white, and you've got 1, 2, 3 teeth. Now you can see they're a fractional stitch because the symbol's much smaller and it doesn't occupy the whole square. Now the first thing to notice is which corner the symbol is in. This is important because it shows you where you'll place your stitch. So in this case, the symbol is in the top right corner of the square. In this case, it's in the bottom left corner of the square, and in this case it's in the top right again. So you do need to make sure that you've seen which corner it's in. Now I'm going to show how to stitch them. I'm going to use blue for the teeth just so that it shows up, otherwise you won't see what I'm doing in white, but you are going to need to do yours in white, and I'll unpick mine later. So I'll start with this tooth here. So I've got a new thread, so I need to do a loop start. Bring my needle in here. Going to come in, and we're going to do a 3/4 stitch, which means it's the same thing as a fractional stitch, which means we're going to have a 1/4 stitch here and then a full half stitch here. I'll get my pencil to show you. We're basically going to do this, a stitch like that into the middle, and then a full stitch there, as opposed to a normal cross stitch where you do that. Okay, so I've come in here at this corner here, so then I need to go into the middle of the square. So that's going to be 2 strands across and 2 strands down of the way that we split our Ada. So you might need to poke your needle around a bit to find the right place. But there it is. I've gone through 2 strands across and 2 strands down. So I push my needle in there. Got to push it through the loop at the end, make the loop start. And then that gives you your tiny 1/4 stitch. Pull up here and bring it down here for a full half of a cross stitch. And that's it. That's your fractional or 3/4 stitch. So this symbol here means this stitch here, and the fact that it's in this corner, it was in the top right corner, which meant that I did the fractional stitch, the 1/4 stitch, facing that way in the top right corner. If it had been top left, I'd have done it facing this way with the full half stitch going along there. So I'll do it again for the next tooth. Come in here. This tooth is in the bottom left corner, so I've come in at the bottom left corner of the square, as you can see in the pattern here. I'm doing this one. Now I'm going to go in through the middle of the square, so you might have to poke it a bit, just poke around a bit. And sometimes you'll come in there. I think I've come in 1 strand from the top rather than 2, so just poke around a bit more. Some people find using a sharp needle is easier. I can't normally be bothered to change my needle, so I just poke and it works fine. Pull your thread through, and then bring it up here for the full half stitch, and that's given the second fractional stitch. And I shall now do the third one. So this one is in the top right like the first one was, so we'll come up here through the top right of this square, go back in through the middle, come up here through the left to make the full arm of the cross stitch going along. And there's the 3 teeth in the dragon. So I'm going to unpick those and redo them in white, and then I shall come back and show you how to do 2 fractional stitches in the same square, which is what we've got for the nostril and the eye.